What's up? Just an elevated perspective.
Yeah,
Me and Big A in here cooking it up.
yeah,
So, you can still hear me good, right?
yeah,
Okay. So I'm gonna go into like colors and why dogs are certain colors and what determines their color and the possibilities. You know what I mean? Kind of want to talk
yeah.
about that a little bit, just more in depth, so people can maybe understand it. And every time I read it, I understand it a little more.
Okay.
So, in dogs, coat color is determined by several genes at different loci uh, or loci. There's a couple. The A locus controls the distribution of E melanin, which is the black, like dark pigment, and phenomelanin, which is yellowish red pigment in the hair. You know,
Yeah.
uh, it has a hierarchy of alleles. Uh, AY, which is fawn sable, AW, which is wolf sable and gray, uh, and AT, which is tricolor points,
Okay.
and a solid black other loci like the E locus extension or K locus dominant black gene and B locus brown also influence coat color and pattern. So, like each, there's combinations of which ones go together. Like, right, they have the A, the E, the K, the B, uh, and then there's other loci like the patching, the merle, brindle, blue, even like dilutes like blue or Isabella. Uh, so like that can, they all will carry a certain amount, but then it'll have them variants in the other loci that will cause them to
Hmm.
be unique color patterns. Like, for say Jarvis's brindle, you know how like prominent it is, where he's like got
Yeah.
bigger pieces of buckskin patching than he does black. Uh,
Hmm.
he carries that gene like really dark, like really prominent. It stands out for some reason. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's the combination of them alleles that made that pop out so hardcore versus his littermate sister Rogue, who is a black brindle dog, and she barely has any little brindlings. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and and then he has littermates that aren't brindle at all. And when Daniel bred Jarvis's sister to Kaiser, they didn't get a single brindle out of that litter really. So that gene, I'm watching that gene in my dog so I can determine uh like what state it's in an individual. Like you can do that if you're watching them with dogs that throws different colors. Like there's a lot of the carver and stuff in my dog, so I still get the black and white patch that some of them color dogs, and
Right.
I'm just paying attention to them. I don't want to lose that. You know what I mean? I don't want to go
Hmm.
to where my whole yard is just like black or just brown, or I don't want to do that. I want to still have that little bit of variant in them because that's what makes them unique.
Yeah.
And like that's why I bred Jarvis back to Mercy. Is I'm trying to stack up. I'm hoping that he throws that gene back into them dogs too. Like it'd
Yeah.
be really cool. And like if I get a black one off of that, I know where that's coming from. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I get only blacks and brindles, even though she's red, she's one of two in the litter that was red. You know what I mean? So like that's a low number anyways. So she might throw black dogs. I'm excited to see because I don't know. There's a lot of people that'll say, okay, if for instance, like we were talking about the blue pit bull terrier
Hmm.
for a while. So, in order for one to be blue, right? They say that it both has to carry that. Where is it? It's one of these
Hey,
locuses.
shout out, Skip. What's going on, Skip? Hard to finish in the building. Wes, what's happening? Tony M, man. Y'all in here, man. Hey, big
So,
head.
like with that combination of an A locus and a AW dominant to the AT causes a wolf sable grayish coat. So, like
Mhm.
sometimes, like I don't think that both dogs have to carry that trait. I think the alleles can line up from one dog.
Right.
Like I've seen it. I've seen in my area. I've seen two dogs that were straight off of red dogs for a long time. Both
Yeah.
dogs, and then they bred them together, and they thought they was going to get a whole litter of reds, and three blues pop out. I'm like,
Hmm.
what? Like, and then you watch them age, and they're the real deal. I'm like, they're just blue. I was like, huh. Like that's what
Right.
made me really think, you know, like. And I've seen that same dog bred to bullies and not throw blue at all. So I'm like, that
Right.
makes no sense. That literally makes no sense to me. So that's where I got into studying these like locusts and why the colors can pop out. And that's why like I'm not so picky. I like the unique colors. I like brindle. I like white patch. That's what most of Carver's dogs look like.
Yeah.
Everybody says the name Carver, but that's what his dogs look like. Look at Miss Spike.
Yeah.
Look at Pistol. Look at I keep naming them.
Yeah.
So that gene's important. And my belief, that's why Tom brought the T-Tray stuff back into all his stuff, because it still carries those genes. Because there's something that comes along with them. You know what I mean? That's like the
Yeah.
same thing as where people says they don't see pit bull terriers that are really human aggressive.
Hmm.
Like some of these ones that are patched up can be, and stuff like that. They'll eat you up, but they have a lot of the Lonzos, Andy, the same stuff with Zebo in them, and he's known to be a man biter from
Yeah.
claims. I mean, so I don't know, like color, certain traits. I think traits you could see with the eye, as far as how they act and that stuff, come with color too, and that ain't
Okay.
really a talked about subject. Like even though I bred Mason to Medusa, the first litter, there wasn't nothing hardly like Mason at all. It was mostly like Medusa's gene, because she's triple bred.
Right.
She's triple bred on
Why?
my Thor dog, then took him back to her uncle or great uncle or whatever.
Why? Why are you so necessarily focused on the color, just specifically? Why is that such a important focus to you?
Because that's, if you go to mixing certain colors, you can dilute your whole gene. You can bottleneck your gene pool that way too. You know what I mean? Not just, oh, he's triple bred related. Like, you can bottleneck the gene pool to where they're all black. Like Floyd, I don't know. I'm like I told Dre, he's a lot luckier man than I am, because if I name the dogs the old yellow dogs, every one of them would come out black. Like, it's just, I'm not that lucky.
Right.
Mason throws a mix of colors, everything from buckskin to black. So,
Mhm.
and some of the colors are important. Like, I see where they come from later back in the pedigrees. Like, not that far though. Like,
Mhm.
so it's just, for me, color has to do with them individuals I seen as a kid, and like overall, I've seen that does play a little bit in my specific dogs. Like my buddy Dalton has Judge's brother off of the inbreeding, but he's white with black ears, just like my
Mhm.
Panic dog was, and he's a lot like Panic as far as the older he gets, and
Mhm.
but Judge is more like Mason. Like he's just, and like that's what I was getting into. So like Mason and Medusa, right? I bred him to her, and I got a buckskin, actual black, two seal colored dogs, a brindle, and two whites but one had black patches over its eyes, and one had lemon patches, like yellow kind of, but not quite like Mason, over his eyes. And them two never got bred, but I kept Vixen, and I sent Harley to Throwback Kennels, and we got Jarvis back now. My dad's buddy gave him back to me.
Mhm.
So like, because of termite dogs, I think it's important. You know what I mean? For a lot, like I gotta salute Thompson Kennels, right? He says he has termite dogs, and then they're black and brindle and like all this, and I'm like, yeah, okay. He's like one of the few guys I see with termite dogs that still look like termite dogs.
Yeah.
Like,
So
if you stood a picture of Medusa and Black Sealy next to each other, they look so much alike. It's crazy.
okay. So then, what are the most common like misconceptions people have about like the dog coat and color and genetics?
That buckskin don't come from black dogs. That's
Mm.
buckskin is a dilute of black. So like if you keep tightening up on it, it's a recessive trait. So
Uh-huh.
say for in Dre's example, right? He took that recessive trait where they threw how many which like it was a low there his Saki's daddy's black, right?
Yes.
Okay. And bred it back to Bacardi. And what
Yes.
color was she? Wasn't she red nose?
Yeah.
Okay. So she carried that trait recessively, right? When he bred back to her, you got a diluted version of the daddy, which is Saki. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of a dilute, but it might not be like dilution is another one of them terms that can be used as like a oh it's diluted. That's a hate term. Not always. You know what I'm saying? Some dilutions,
Well,
there's no problem with it.
I can't speak on the subject because I'm just asking questions out of,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
just asking, from
But
elevator's eyes.
so Saki,
So
then he bred Saki back to his mama. You see what I'm saying? So he turned that recessive trait that was in the daddy to a dominant trait in, say, Kamikaze, Michonne. Like, I'm interested to see, like, how you said you're going to take Michonne back to Saki's daddy, the black dog. I'm interested to see what number of buckskin you get off of that. And I'll go ahead and put it out here. I think you're going to get more than you think you will. Like, I think
yeah,
you'll get a couple blacks, but I'm thinking it might be, and it might not. It just depends on how that
yeah,
lines up. That's why I'm interested in it. Because,
yeah. Him and James say basically ain't red and black the dominant colors, and
yeah,
all else stems from them.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
that's the correct way of the misconception. People don't understand that, but it is true. Like, even tricolor, it's a variant of a black gene. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
people that has tricolor in their dogs, like there is tricolor, there's black and tan, and then there's like a chocolate and red version of them two colors too. In
okay,
in in tricolor and black and tan. To me, tricolor has a white chest, white paws, maybe white on its face, and a black and tan is black and tan like a hound dog. There is
yeah.
no white. It don't carry that white gene. It won't throw white
He,
patches on it. Stuff like that.
Ta- Tony M say some people use the embark test to prove their breed, but it tells your dog's exact traits like color, health conditions, what size dogs they could throw.
So it's telling you all the
Yeah,
alleles. Hmm,
yeah. You
that's
know what I'm
interesting.
saying? You hear it from Dre mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting.
Bacardi, no, he said Bacardi with buckskin.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I say I'm just asking questions. I'm just letting you.
Well, so when he bred, wasn't his name Knucklehead, the black dog?
Yes.
Okay. When he bred Knucklehead to Bacardi, what was all the colors of that litter? Wasn't there a couple black ones in it, or
No.
no?
Mm,
I don't remember quite off the top of my head.
no.
Uh, okay. So she carried that trait heavily. Then that trait might have already been. If he was on here, we could break down back further in her pedigree, and it might already have been a dominant color in her. So when he bred Knucklehead to her, he got that color still. You know what I mean? And then he kept tightening up on that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. And I mean, we've kind of done the same thing with Jarvis and Rogue and them. I'm trying to keep it the way they're supposed to be. I don't want a
Yeah.
bunch of mason colored termite dogs, even though I know where it comes from. I still don't. I want them. I want the traits from them dogs because like the black ones act different than the red ones. Me and Throwbacks talked about that a couple of times
Hmm.
on different interviews. They do act a little different. The red ones are
Yeah.
early starters. They're typically more food aggressive, all that stuff, like to their litter mates. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
the black ones, they're later starters, and the food aggression comes on when they kick on. It's hard to explain. Like there is a difference.
Dre
And
said 3 buskins and 2 reds, but I got another
okay,
question then. So then what about the difference between genotype and its phenotype when it comes to color?
uh, okay. So Judge, right?
Hmm.
Judge is phenotypically he is a white dog. He's a buckskin dog with a white gene that makes him half predominantly white over his body. But if you break it down, he's a buckskin dog with that other allele that makes him have the patching. You know what I mean? But his mama is a black brindle dog with the white feet and the white upper nose and stuff. So that's part of that white gene that he got. You know what I mean? She just didn't express it as much. Well, Mason's the same way. Her mama though is Medusa, which is a solid black dog. Don't even have nothing but like a couple white hairs underneath her neck. So like, like phenotypically he displays that, but genotypically Judge could throw black dogs. Like I'm probably, and I mean if I bred him something to different than Vixen, like Vixen's black too. She's off of Mason and Medusa, so that's not really a good assessment of that gene. You know what I mean? Like that breeding right there wasn't a good way for me to assess them genes. As far as if I get a bunch, this is what I was hoping for. I'm glad this got brought up actually. So my dad's dog Dixie was white or black with white patch head, white on her feet. She had a white D on her side, and that's why we called her Dixie. Like it looked clear as day, like a cursive D. And so I'm hoping by breeding. See, when I bred them, I didn't get none that were like the patched up black color. You know what I mean? Like Dixie was. So I'm hoping by putting Judge on Vixen, I get them black and patched up like that. Not just brindle. I'm hoping I get them black and patched up like Dixie was. Like I love that look. And that's all. I mean, look don't matter, but at the same time, if you can do these breedings with good individuals and affect the color and look, like that's on a wild level. Like I am trying to bring back some of the old traits of them dogs. I've used Mason as a catalyst for the finish destructive tendencies to bring back the game destructive dogs that Dixie and them threw. You know what I mean? Because Medusa's a game dog. Like she'll go down. She will fight a coon that's half her size for an hour and a half. Like she really is. I said for a long time that she was a cold dog, but she's truly not. I just said that so people wouldn't bother me. Honestly, she's my seed dog. I'm using her, and I did. And she's killed a lot of animals. She's killed 3 or 4 possums on her chain. Like they're stupid enough to keep wandering over there, and she'll chew their head off. And fast. I've seen it on security camera. And so like using Mason to bring back them old genes of Medusa that's in her. You know what I mean? And it might not. That's where sometimes people get it mixed up. They'll think, oh, this ancestor comes from this. You know what I mean? Like if they seen off of Judge and Vixen, they back, look, that looks just like Dixie. Yeah, but the reason it looks like that, there was that talk about the dire wolf ain't a dire wolf. It's just a modified gray wolf. All I'm doing is the same kind of modification without a magnet, like without a petri dish, and you know what I mean? Using their individual phenotypes and genotypes to affect the way they come, the way they look, the way they act. Every generation, they've gotten meaner, like a little less trustworthy around each other. I'm not going to lie to nobody. And that's not me doing anything other than breeding them correctly.
Yeah, that's Dre right there with Knucklehead and Bacardi.
Yeah,
on the screen.
Yeah, I like that picture. I like Knucklehead.
Yeah, and then it go.
Do we all got glasses?
Then that's the litter. That's the litter they produce. Yeah.
Okay. So she carried them traits through.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like seeing some of these examples. Like, see, okay, that goes back to what we was talking about with the window shopper. Like, I'll ask people certain questions just to pay attention to their genes. That's how I know so much about genes and have seen it so many times. Like, they'll see me pedigree and I can study it and be like, that's why they look like that. And I can tell you if the pedigree is true or not. Most of the time.
Yeah. Emmy James say Amstaff shed away from the red nose. Red nose, because it can and does become a fixed trait like pure old family red. It's exception being white. And then Tony M say elevated that. Let me see that. Elevated the alleles. Yeah, alleles. The alleles breeds like Frenchie and Bullies use in bark to map out the colors they'll get. Uh,
Yeah.
they
So
even have
that's why they didn't accept the red nose in the staff. They didn't want people to see that and people to get a start a fad over it, and then everybody
mhm,
add it to their blood. And because they outcross so much to each other, that would have got
yeah,
spread through their whole gene pool so fast. It would, if they would have allowed that in out the gate, then there would only be red nose Amstaff because they
yeah,
outcross. You can do that same thing backwards. You know how we're talking about type breeding to
mhm,
get certain traits. You can outcross and
yeah.
outcross and outcross to do the same thing. Like it's just
Okay,
harder. It's a lot longer of a mission.
yeah. Salute, Dre. Take it easy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
man. Let me see.
But no, that's my interest in it because I don't want to lose what my dad's dogs were either. I
Yeah,
mean, I have a split mission. I'm trying to keep Mason's blood alive and Medusa's, but I've mixed them. So you know what I mean. So I'm having to keep certain traits specific.
so there are there like are there specific color combinations or patterns that are more challenging or require more careful consideration, you know, like when
Yeah.
it comes to breeding.
Like to keep them around.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, tricolor, ticking, any that white patching that I'm talking about, you can lose that, but it's a little easier to keep it around, because it's a pretty dominant thing once it pops out. But like
Yeah.
ticking and tricolor, if you're not
Mm-hmm.
taking them back to black dogs and stuff ever so often to keep that gene right, and like or
Mm-hmm.
breeding them together, like you can breed them together and it'll lock it in a lot longer. But tricolor, I have a hard time understanding how it just pops out sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one. It's like you just got lucky with that somehow. Like
Mm-hmm.
some of the people that get these tricolors, I'm like, you just got lucky because the way that gene works. Now that they get that, here I'll tell you something. If you breed your dogs and a tricolor pops out, take
Mm-hmm.
that dog, that tricolor, back to a black dog, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll have better luck of locking it in if that tricolor that pops out is a female. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
I mean, you can get a tricolor. Say you breed that male that's a tricolor to a black female, and they
Mm-hmm.
throw a tricolor bitch. Take that
Yeah.
back to the daddy that's tricolor, and you'll lock
Okay.
that gene in a little longer. It's
Yeah.
same as the ticking and stuff. Same way with ticking.
Yeah.
If ticking pops out, like Dirt Road Kennels, have you seen that polka dot dog?
No.
Oh man. I'll have to find it so I can send it to you. She's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Like her colors are wild. She's more spotted than a Dalmatian. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she's crazy colored. But he bred her, and they threw two puppies that carry that same trait. So as long as that female gets taken back to, or say even you could take that son back to that mama that's spotted up like that. The way
Yeah.
them genes are so different, I mean, you can play with it a little bit in that instance. Uh,
So with that, well, how do you balance the desire for like that specific color, but
in a
still
in a yard.
but still prioritize the health factor and temperament, because
Uh,
it's kind of like so focused on the color, it almost like you know that's probably too. It's almost like that seems like the main priority. What about everything else?
yeah. Well, so uh, color a lot of the time should be an afterthought, right? You should think about all the other factors, and then the color being like if that lines up, then everything worked out real good. And
Yeah,
even if sometimes it might not, you might think you didn't do right, but then the puppies come out, and you're like, well, shit, you know what I mean? That popped out just like I would have wanted. Uh,
okay,
which is weird, but
yeah,
like, so say you take that daddy that's a tricolor, breed it to a black female, get another tricolor,
hmm,
take that. If that one's a female, you can take it back to that outcross the female's brother or something, and you're keeping the genes spread. Like our genes and these dogs really do pretty good, closer, but not like brother sister brother sister brother sister. Like
yeah,
I've never seen a good. like in person and like know that that's how they're bred. A good example of that. And I know a lot of people's gonna say they have, but I just haven't.
Yeah.
A lot of people in my area own dogs, and then like say their cousin on the brother or half brother out of the first litter, or they know that the dogs are cousins. They breed them together on purpose. Like
Yeah.
they were people in my area wasn't necessarily breeding for papers. They knew what families of dogs was, and they bred on genetics. Like if that dog was a good dog, and you know what I mean, and like they both good
Salute
dogs.
trial and error. Salute trial and
Oh
error,
yeah,
man. Dickie
I
Foster,
I
man. What's
like him, man.
happening?
I like his channel.
Uh, him and James, man. You know, man. Y'all boys rolling with us today, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
trial and error. He could come up and cook up with us one day if he wanted to.
Yeah.
I would be down. I like listening to him.
Yeah. The link is in the chat for anybody that wanna
Yeah,
uh
anybody that wants to come by, stir the conversation up, I'm down.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you
Um
just got to be careful not to genetic bottleneck yourself. Any way you go, that's the main priority. You want to have something for the future, but not be genetic bottleneck.
okay.
Where there ain't another step for the future. If you're partnering up with a couple people, like how you can take Michonne back to Saki's daddy, that's awesome, dude. Like that's her
Yeah.
grandpa. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
bred Mason to his granddaughter, top and bottom. Like that's
Yeah.
awesome. So,
Well,
and I'm
that's
excited. If you do that, I'm excited
yeah,
to see that.
that's part of my, I try to create boundaries around me where I can't fail,
Yep.
and part of doing that is being able to know uh, the limitations of my knowledge and know that, what I don't know, I need to have people around me that do know.
Yep.
So, that makes a difference for me. So, like I say, I'm not a breeder. I don't I don't pretend to be or anything like that, but I can tell you what, man, I'm in I always try to put myself in a situation where I can't fail. So
Yep.
in the process of me going through, choosing uh which direction I'm gonna go, what dog I'm gonna get, I'm also choosing the person behind the dog who I'm gonna, fool with. Can we
Yep.
have like a long term relationship? As far as fooling with these dogs, man, because it counts. It counts. Especially for somebody who really doesn't hasn't had that particular line of dog, consistently. It's a lot of things the owner or
Yep.
breeder can tell you about their dog that nobody else can tell you about their dog, and then so on and so forth, man. It helps you in the future. So for me to uh, just surrounding myself by that, it ensures that I'm less likely to fail. And not saying that I can't fall off, but like at the same time, I try to create that to where I'm less likely to fail. But you know, do you know about genetic testing? And if you do, man, can you uh explain a little bit about that, in determining the dog's coat color and offspring and
So
whatnot?
I don't know much about genetic testing as far as like getting
Okay.
it done because I mean I knew where my family of dogs came from. I've seen them for so many generations. Uh, I didn't have to. I seen the individuals to not have like this litter. 4 or 5 generations is 100% my breedings. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So like I like every dog in there I had. So like
Yeah.
it I don't really have to do that with my dogs now. Uh, I would like to
Hey,
get a dog
hold
and
on.
do it on.
Yeah, hey, trial and error. We working on that. We'll get it situated, man. And I appreciate the support.
What did he
Appreciate
say?
the support. Now he was just stating that there's no membership button to join. He said it's
Oh
like
yeah.
that on bills for us also. We're working on that, bro. Working on
Okay.
that.
So Tony said tricolor is recessive. Doesn't have to show. Both dogs have to have it somewhere in their lineage.
Mm-hmm.
For it to pop up maybe, but like see, that's where I have a hard time. I've seen dogs that it didn't, and it pop up like, and people
Hmm.
want to say that it's paper hung, but the stuff in the books isn't 100% for fact. And I've seen that.
Right.
That goes back to me saying where I said I've seen two red dogs that were off of families of red dogs. I know for a fact. I know where they came from. You know what I mean? I had seen them for
Yeah.
multiple generations too in my area, and then a guy bred them together, and he had
Hmm.
the female in a kennel, in a high kennel, like you're supposed to, and pull her out, breed her, put her back in there, like 100% like you're supposed to. And then
Yeah.
I saw one. I was gonna get one, and
Hmm.
like I saw the litter be born, and they come out blue, and like I didn't, and I was like, damn, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Damn. And then I seen a couple. So I seen a couple of those offspring bred, and
Hmm.
they didn't throw no blue. Like
Right.
it was weird. And I don't, for it to be back in their lineage. Like I doubt that. You know what I mean? With these dogs, the guy that it is, he's older. Like
Hmm.
I doubt that very highly. So I don't know. Some of that I have seen for a fact with my eye that it ain't what the internet will say, you know, like, or books. Even if you went to school for it, they'll teach you the same
Yeah.
thing the internet says. But sometimes
Okay.
it's not 100% fact because there's them alleles, the variables. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Different bloods added, crossed. What's dominant, what's recessive within them individuals. I don't know. It's.
Well then,
I don't believe we
from
have everything figured out 100% for fact.
yeah. Well
Not me
then,
doing the breedings that I have.
like from a historical perspective, like how has the coat influenced, you know, breed standards, if not your breeding standards and as selection practices, you know.
Uh, so that it can affect them in good ways, like people uses it the way it's supposed to be used, or
Hmm.
it can affect in bad ways where like people says I don't like that type of color. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it might have brought some type of variable to their dogs that made them better, but they genetically weeded it out. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And then their dogs are lacking something, and they don't know what it
Yeah.
was. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. You know how tigers are striped up and they're orange.
Hmm.
Animals that they're hunting can't see orange, so they just look with their stripes. They blend into the tall grass like a hundred
Hmm.
percent. So like
That's why I like Brenda. You know,
yeah,
that's the only reason why I like it as far as
they're
you know
camouflaged
from
for a reason.
yeah. You know, I mean just you know cosmetically. You
Yeah.
know, uh, yeah. So
Well, I don't know what color spectrum hogs or anything can see on, but if a dog like Jarvis was coming through the brush at you, he would hit
mhm,
you before you seen him.
yeah,
He's so camouflaged. I have to walk up there to him. Okay, maybe it's just because I'm blind, but I have to walk up there to him to see him. Like if I'm standing down at the bottom of my hill and look up, I can't even see him most of the time. He's
yeah.
camouflaged. He blends in with leaves and trees and brush and everything. I'm just like, wow. Whereas Rogue, she's a little more prominent. Where she's the black brindle, she stands out. I can see her.
Yeah,
But Jarvis, he's
yeah.
camo. I can't hardly see him at all. I have pictures of him in like a grass yard, like that's
Hmm.
kind of got the brownish grass in it. It was about the beginning of the spring here, and like you can't
Hmm.
even hardly see him in the picture,
Yeah,
just because of the color of the grass and him standing there, and how far I am away from him. You just can't hardly even see him. They're great pictures, but they're not good pictures.
yeah.
I love them, but somebody else is back. Hey, you can't even see that dog. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Like me having termite dogs, that is one thing I will say. I do pay a little more attention to the black and brindle gene. I don't. My dad's
So,
dogs were like that, black and brindle.
so for you then, for you, in your opinion, like, what's the future, uh, breeding, like, breeding, like your color, concerning
Okay,
the color coming out of your yard.
so if I'm gonna keep stuff that complements Jarvis and Judge and
Hmm.
Jake and Wyatt, you know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
even with okay, here's a good example. Like in the future, I'm gonna breed Wyatt off of Mason and Dirty Girl to Rogue off of Mason and Medusa, and
Hmm.
Wyatt is a brindle dog, and Rogue is a brindle dog. So I'm hoping I get a bunch of black brindle dogs that are still that type of, still look the way they're supposed to. That's something
Yeah.
important. Like, I don't want to have it where I've bred them to where my stuff don't match up to what you're reading, because that's an issue. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I don't go just by the paper, but the individuals, they're great enough for me to do that with. That's my best way to put it. Like, Vixen is an awesome dog, super awesome dog. Medusa, just their traits, like they're more of the like wild, like high prey driven type of dogs than Mason. Mason, he ain't running around his chain all the time, doing none of that. But I bred him to Medusa and then through Rogue, and she'll have figure eights dug in the yard where she's running in figure eights. And then her son Judge, off, even though he looks just like Mason, that's where I kept some of them Medusa traits. Even though he don't look like her, there's still some of them traits there. Like when he gets close to, say, a coon or something, he's wanting to kill it, he'll like devil growl and stuff, and that comes from my dad's dogs. My mom's dogs didn't ever do that.
So
they're like a Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, so there's situations where you've been breeding for like, you know, a specific color and it's kind of reduced, like, you know, watered it down, like reduced the genetic diversity, I guess you could say, right?
No, because see that's where color, it's not really that much of a, like, kinda, yeah, like as in, hey, like in Kaiser to Harley, they were both just like black seal dogs. When we bred them together, we got 4 black seal color dogs, and then we got a buckskin, a red, and then like a chocolatey red. Mercy is the dog.
Yeah.
So like, I only have Mercy. Electra passed away, so like my option is Mercy or Eleanor, you know, and Eleanor's black and Mercy's red. So it kind of, the way the world worked out, it kind of left me with both options to play with in the future. I have Mercy that's red, even acts just like them, just like Judge, acts just like Medusa dogs, you know, but
what's happening?
But looks like Mason stuff. So that's where I've blended a little bit. That's where I can kind of guess how they act and stuff too. You know what I mean? Like, I told Daniel what Kaiser would do at 3 months old, and word for word, that's the dog he is. Like, it was just because of his traits, who he is, how he looks like. He's almost like, he's really close to what Thor was. The only difference is he don't have that white streak up his nose. Other than that, he's built like Thor. He acts a lot like Thor did. Real high prey driven.
So what's the most challenging, like, dilemmas you've been, you know, you face, like, you know, going through your process with this, you know, diving into colors, because, you know,
finding dogs that
fit about color for a long time. So what, you know, what is really the challenges you dealt with?
Finding dogs that are similar enough to use as out, like Dirty Girl. The reason I did that is because, and see, I'm gonna breed her to Kaiser in the future, and I want to see if I get black dogs out of that, because her daddy's black, but her mama is just like her, a buckskin dog. Then I got a bunch of buckskins and a brindle out of Mason to her, so I didn't even get a black. But Mason's tighter bred than her too, so that's another factor I've had to like these individuals that I started with. No matter what, when I breed them to an outcross, I still get similar to my stuff because of how it's bred. You know what I mean?
And so have you ever had any health issues with, you know, dealing with pushing for the color?
No, not the color, actually. That ain't where I've seen a little bit of a health issue. So, I was gonna breed a bitch named Bella. She's a staff, right? I was gonna breed her to Mason's brother, and I was gonna have my own little thing of where I blended Mason's brother and this outcross bitch to Mason and this other outcross bitch, but they're both staffs. So I was gonna keep them together That way, I always had something I could, keep it in its own little variable. That's why I did Mason to Sissy. Well, when I bred
Okay.
Mason to Bella, uh, Mason got loose. This was before I switched to swivels and stuff. This was years ago. He got loose, and I went out there, and they were all raising hell. I only had like 6 dogs, and they were all raising hell. This was forever ago, so it was around the first time. I probably had 8 dogs. So I went out there, and Mason and her were locked up, and I'm like, damn it. He got in her kennel and locked up with her, and I was like, damn it, because I didn't want to breed him to her. And out of that litter, I've had a couple have seizures, and one had an anal prolapse, but then the other 2 or 3 are just fine, like perfectly healthy pets. You know what I mean? So that's the only example that I've really seen of a health problem out of them.
So it was yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. We were talking about the dire wolf.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of information or whatever from the Joe Rogan show that you said yeah, learn. So with that being said, like do you see genetic testing
So Colossal has a website.
But hold on, do you see genetic testing in your yard in the future? If you into that?
So when I get individual, that I feel like is the apex ace animal, I might genetic test him, and then find find his best relative, and genetic test them, and then find an outcross and genetic test it, and then everything I go with in the future off of them 2 females, one related, one an outcross to that dog, I might genetic test all them and just keep that as its own little line just to play with it. Like I don't know, in our area.
The only reason I'm asking you this, is because you're so into, this side of the game,
yeah.
So I was just asking, is that something that's foreseeable on your yard in the future?
Once I get the science figured out good enough, I might just do that, and then before I do the testing, make my prediction and write down what I think, and then do the testing and see how close I am. Start narrowing down traits that way,
Gotcha.
But I would always write down what I think first. That way I can have it as a reference back. See, I was already thinking that, because you can think that and not write it down and then go do it and back. Yep, that's exactly what I thought. And people back, okay. But if you write it down ahead of time, with the date on it and everything, then do it, and then be like, look, this is a proven. It might change the idea of some of these things, like where they have to carry on both sides and stuff.
Okay, and for somebody who's focused on the direction that you focused on, how do you think? How would you suggest them keeping a detailed a log of what would be the tools, and how would you say they would need to, if they were trying to get into this, dive deeper in this, how would they log it? How would they, actually follow?
I've already started kind of a little bit anyways throughout the years, right? And when I first started, I didn't know that this is what I was doing.
Yeah, how do you
So I take pictures of the breedings or videos of them breeding, at first. Then when they throw the puppies, I have a picture of the litter. And as I go through my pedigrees, I could post pictures of the litters and the spots, and you could see. I wonder if can you post multiple pictures on Pets Online? I don't know.
Okay.
Like under.
Anybody answer that in the chat if anybody knows,
If so, then you could put the dog you have, and then a picture of its litter now next to it, where you could, and then you would see all of its colors of litter mates too. That goes back to what Welsh was talking about. When you're looking at pedigrees, look at the siblings. If you could do that, then you could see them right there, and then you could go through and click on their pedigrees, and you would know that they're all attached.
Well, I mean, that's you're talking about online pairs. I'm talking about like from your for you? How do you keep records in house? You know, online pairs is one thing, but I mean your in house records. This is your yard. Like, what are you doing for you? What kind of records are you keeping in house? How are you keeping records?
I have the hard copies of the pictures,
Okay.
a lot of
Yeah.
the
Are you
pictures.
you don't you're not logging like down any you know
Well, I
any
have
the traits of
pedigrees and
each dog and along with the color, along with you're not doing any of that.
not to that level. No, not yet. Because I mean, I just see them. I know how they're acting. But I've
Right.
been talking about writing an overall book, like for my dogs, just so I can keep track of it and have it, and keep like a journal that's ongoing, like never stops. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that's a good point. You could do that with. Put
Yeah.
pictures, the pedigrees, right? Put a picture of the dog, their litter mate, or their litter picture, and then write down all the traits that they possess themselves.
Yeah, but
Have
so
different
okay.
sheets.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a cool
I'm surprised.
concept.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I thought you were doing that. That's why I was asking, what's your in-house, process?
Well, I mean, I just
That's
know how in each individual. I mean, I only got so many dogs, and
yeah.
like I've had them for so long. It's like when somebody has like one dog and then they think about having 20, it's like
Hmm.
crazy hard to keep up with that, right? But if you have
Right.
20 for so long, it's really not. It's
Hmm.
just kind of in my head. I don't know. I've never thought about writing it down. My daughter's
Yeah.
not old enough to read it to put it into effect, so I haven't wrote it down yet.
Hmm.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm the only one doing this.
Yeah. See,
Like
that's tough.
if
We
I
talking
died
Tony
tomorrow,
M.
it would be over. You
We
know what I
talking
mean?
Tony M. Language. And Tony M. say genetic testing won't hurt. Just makes you more informed of what's going on under the hood. And that's
Yep.
all I'm saying because for me, like I say, I'm not a breeder. I I will go into that, but like um for me to go into it, like I would want, an online pass is one thing, but I would have in-house notes. I would have, a list of all the traits from each litter, each individual pup, the males versus the females, and I'm real nerdy and
Well,
geeky like that.
okay.
And then as time goes on, as I get more serious with it, and I start seeing certain patterns, then I would start going through genetic testing, and start, going that process, man. It's just that I'm just, thinking aloud, but that's just me.
So I don't keep a lot of like I don't have no paper records and nothing here at my house
Hmm.
and none of that because of how much I've dealt with the problems. You know what I mean?
Hmm. What do
Like
you mean?
it say somebody calls and they come in and take them, right? Well,
Hmm.
when they come in and take them, they take your paperwork and everything, and it's in evidence. Okay,
Hmm.
here's an example. And I don't do nothing illegal, but I still prepare for them to try to destroy the breed. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They know I'm breeding, producing litters, so I prepared for it.
Hmm.
My papers are
Yeah.
somewhere else. Uh,
Yeah.
if I was to get in trouble, then I have all that evidence on my side for court,
Right.
not
Hmm.
not just in the evidence files.
Hmm.
Because it's in the evidence files, they ain't gonna read that stuff out loud sometimes. Not the
Hmm.
stuff you want read. So
Yeah.
I have it all somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's just that some. So for somebody that has as many dogs as I have, that's smart. I'll just say
Yeah.
that to not
Hmm.
have all that stuff in one place. The only thing you
Yeah.
should have where your dogs are is your rabies vaccination paperwork and all the
Hmm.
shots and maybe what medicines you're given. And that's
Yeah.
over the counter medicines and stuff like Corid, Pyrantel, Nemex,
Hmm.
all these common Safeguard, Ivermectin, Albon, any of that stuff. Like
Yeah.
all the record you have of that you do
Hmm.
is a good thing to have on record for you. Like if you can look up the animal control complaints on me, and it
Hmm.
literally says, "Oh, he was worming them when we got there. He
Hmm.
was changing waters when we got there." Like all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Um.
stuff's public information. So,
Yeah, man. I wanna. I wanna do a kind of like an informative thing for all the dog men out there that are really getting getting invested in really trying to get a kennel going and strong in it or whatnot, man, uh, there's insurance out there, man, and you can get life insurance on your stud or your dame. I'm letting y'all know in case you guys don't know. You have to get it by a certain time. They pass a certain age, you can't, the less you get involved. I mean, the less you can get back. But you can get life insurance, like human life insurance, but on your dog. So
Huh.
if you gonna start from scratch, and I have all the information, man, because y'all need to know about this. This is a hidden gem. A hidden gem. So you can have I skip out, I gotta get all the information. I do not want to get up here and be lying to y'all. So but you can have life insurance on your dog. If your dog dies, if your dog gets stolen, you get paid, you know. And if you have a kennel, you know, then it's a business, so I got to get the information for that. And also, you can get health insurance on your dog. It depends on who you go with, but I'll tell you this. For all you military or ex-military, or have people that's military in your family, USAA does not ask the breed of your dog when you go get insurance. This is for house insurance. This isn't the health insurance. USAA doesn't ask the breed of your dog when it comes to getting having your dog under house insurance or whatnot. So they just ask, the size of your dog. So, and I know this for a fact because I'm under USAA, and I got y'all know what I got already. So that's that. And then you can also have health insurance on your dog, but you gotta get it when they're a pup. You gotta start the health insurance when they're a pup. But I'm gonna see if we can get a whole episode where I can just get all the information and really get the details for everybody and fill everybody in, man. Because y'all need to know this game, man. This is some game. So like so just imagine you have your stud, or your main dog for you elevated, it would be Mason, and then Mason time come up and he go, man, you would get 20 racks. So I mean, and this is not I'm not blowing smoke, man. This is the real deal, man. So
I wonder what
I need to
age
get
requirements and stuff.
I need to get all the full information, man.
Cause that's cool.
Me and Dre went through this about a year or two ago, man. I don't know why, just we haven't talked about it, but I remember yesterday, I think the twins were saying something about the insurance thing, and I was like, damn, man, need to probably fill everybody in, man, because this is probably, times have changed. So some things we can be aware of, man, and it can help move us forward, man. That's what we're here for,
Yep.
man, just to be a pool of information. And the things that I don't know, somebody in the chat know, or somebody on the panel know, man. And it ain't no sense in withholding the game, man, because that's some game we all need, for
Yep.
sure. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
I got you, Tony M.
That's interesting.
I got you, Tony M. Yes, sir.
Especially
Yeah,
like
man.
depending. I wonder if there's something weird about the age though. Like how so
Well, I have to get the
because that's
details. I
cool.
really don't want to. I don't want to speculate and then put anything false out there, because I want to hit you guys with for show facts. But this is something that I know to be solid as rock. So just thinking about start, like, you even if you even just hypothetically speaking, even if you had to restart your kennel, so to speak, uh, and then get your main dog insured from top to bottom. Home, life, and medical. Man, that could say that could be I mean, you might not be moving back. You might be jumping forward. So that's that, man.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. You know. Yes, sir. Yeah, man.
That's
But
like
as
with this
far,
APDR show. They was doing
yeah.
extractions, and you could
Mm-hmm.
pay them. It's a legit company. They do
Mm-hmm.
extractions, so you could get your dog extracted and froze at the APDR dog show. This last show that I was at,
Mm.
I didn't have
That's
the
what's
money,
up.
but that was cool.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was like,
man,
wow.
that's something that I've learned, man. If you might want to have, if you can, if I know how it is, man. Good and bad, good days, bad days. But if you can, you might want to have a little something in your pocket when you show up to a show, man. You never know what you run into, a dog, uh, you know, a book, anything, you know. Yeah, so
Yep.
yeah,
Happy ending massage for your dog.
yeah,
Yeah, you never know what you might want to buy that, homie.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just some, and they're gonna keep trying to do that. Have vendors that come and like have more things to offer.
Yeah,
That'll be cool. Like
yeah,
that'll be really cool.
yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, man, we coming up on the end, man.
Yep.
You know what it is, man. It's tomorrow morning. It's gonna be 9:30, man. 9:30 in the a.m. Stay
So
slim, man. Huh?
Croc Croc Bull Kennel said, "How can you register with the APDR?" They
Mm-hmm.
have a website, American Preservation Dog Registry. So just look them up on
Okay.
there, and you can register online. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they're good people, especially if you're in the North Carolina area. Like we do a lot of shows. There's like 6 8 shows a year. So,
Yeah.
but
Uncle
yep.
Willie, hey man, you caught us at the end, man. You caught us at the end, man. But yeah, go check out that cookout with Toyo we just did earlier, man, and then the morning show, bro.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You in TX, man. I'm in San Antonio, bro. Yeah.
But the best way is the website. And then, I mean, if
Mhm.
you're interested in traveling for shows, you can do that, or they just offer the record keeping.
Mhm.
It never
Yeah.
hurts to have them dual register.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Elevated Kennels. You can catch me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. We have the
Uh-huh.
Show Dog Journal coming out. Look on my Facebook for the PDF or I think it's called JPEG, where you can fill it out online. Uh,
Mhm.
Check out the morning show, the cookout with Big Toyo. Uh, all this stuff. It's good content.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah, man.
content.
Yeah.
And the ending slogan for ours is the name of the game is game.
Okay. The name of the game is game, man.
Yep.
You heard it here first. Elevated. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all kicking it with us all morning, man. You made our day. Hope we can make your day go easy. And it's a Friday, and we got dog of the week, man. Shout
Yep.
out to Pit Wise, man. Pit Wise, dog of the week. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Congratulations on that.
yeah, yes, sir, man. Yeah, we out, man.
Oh, yeah.
Peace.